8:30. It's the lunch break. Chris Schubert with you. One more hour to go. Now, listen, I tend to be the guy that likes the new technology. I tend to be somebody who always wants the latest and greatest gadget. I think I want to return the gadget that I have here. I have a new tablet. It's somewhat new. I've had it for about 6 months or so now. And this is the first tablet that I've gotten that has the pen. Right? So I've got the pen that connects on the back, and then you take it off and you can draw on it. It's great for me to be able to look through my notes, right? Now, normally, the tablets I've had in the past, I just use my finger, right? So I've got the pen's in my hands, and I disconnect it from the back of the tablet, and I go to use it. It's not working. I would just rather you not have the pen at all if it's not going to work. I don't know what more I need to do. In fact, we'll do this for the show. You'll hear me connect it to the back of the tablet. See, it's on there, and I'm going to take it off, and it's not going to work. So you could just give me a regular tablet then at this point if the pen's not going to work. Again, I'm a tech guy. I like new tech. I like having things. This is something I thought was going to be good for me. Today, not so much, because now, instead of having the story up that I wanted to have about Bradley Beal and his no-trade clause, I'm fighting with a metallic pen on the back of my tablet for 5 minutes during the break. That's what you get here on the show, okay? It's not just all sports on the program, all right? We sidebar from time to time. There was a story today in CBS Sports. Bill Ryder wrote it. I'll read you the headline, and then we'll dive into some of the quotes from it. Bradley Beal's no-trade clause is openly mocked around the NBA, and now it's controlling the trade deadline. How did we get here, man? How are we at a point where a no-trade clause that the Phoenix Suns didn't even give out, but they now have on their books, is holding up everything? Well, there are some interesting quotes in here. Bill Ryder asked a NBA team executive why the Wizards gave Beal that no-trade clause. Quote, good question. An NBA executive said this. Good question why they got that deal. This quote from an Eastern Conference executive whose team might be interested in Butler. Quote, Beal is now controlling the biggest trade in the NBA because he got something from Washington 2 years ago no one else would have given him, end quote. That's another executive in the Eastern Conference that, according to Bill Ryder, is interested in trading for Jimmy Butler, might be interested in trading for Jimmy Butler, says Bradley Beal is holding all of this up. Not Jimmy Butler, not Jimmy Butler's antics. Think about this for a second. We live in a world where the guy who is purposefully getting suspended from his team, the guy that's showing up to shoot around, being told he's not starting, leaving, missing team flights, arguing with Pat Riley, arguing with coaches, arguing with his teammates, arguing with everybody. That guy's not holding up the trade. It's the guy with the no trade clause. Now, that's obviously important, but think about what it's saying about Bradley Beal, that Jimmy Butler, who's doing all of this to force his way out, isn't the problem here. That it's Bradley Beal who's holding all of this up. I thought this quote in the story is telling of where things stand. Quote, in Phoenix, where they still want to find a deal that brings Butler in and sends Beal out, they remain skeptical that Beal will agree to move on. Matters are further complicated by the fact that most teams would be willing to take Beal, would likely want picks in return for taking on his contract, and those are going to be organizations that are likely rebuilding, hardly a tempting pitch for Beal to leave Phoenix. I don't want to be the I told you so guy, but I'll be the I told you so guy here today on the show. Didn't we say that this was going to be a problem? Didn't we say that the Jimmy Butler stuff was going to be hard to do because of the no-trade clause? Didn't we say that trading Bradley Beal was going to be almost an impossible task? I'm old enough to remember the part of the story. We've had so many rumors, but I remember this one in particular. Remember the rumor where the Heat, if they were going to acquire Bradley Beal in a deal for Jimmy Butler, wanted Beal to remove the no-trade clause from the contract? And so we were saying, okay, if you're going to make this trade happen, you need three things. You need Bradley Beal to waive the no-trade clause initially. You need the Heat to want Bradley Beal. And then you need Bradley Beal to say, yeah, I'll just get rid of the no-trade clause in my contract. Good luck with that. This story goes on with more quotes from other executives talking about how Washington just gave in. They gave him what he wanted. what he wanted. They connect that his agent, Mark Bartelstein, his son, obviously the president of the Suns right now. It's just a problem that is hard to unravel. I can't untangle this ball of yarn and have it be a good thing for the Phoenix Suns. It just completely isn't working for the Suns, this Bradley Beal situation. The play, the contract, the no trade clause, all of it. And Bradley Beal right now is holding up everything. Because Phoenix wants Jimmy Butler. And Phoenix wants to make this happen. But they can't unless Bradley Beal finds a home. So, is there a path out? Is there a way for this team to get out of this? If you can find one, let me know. If you find the team, if you find the trade package, if you find the situation that's going to line up perfectly for the Suns to land Jimmy Butler and for Bradley Beal to go to a place that he's willing to go to, I got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 microphones just in this studio, please. I got all the phone lines, 480-864-1060. I mean, please. The floor is yours to give me that situation, to give me that trade proposal, to give me that outcome here. The more and more time passes, the closer and closer that we get to the NBA trade deadline next Thursday, the less likely this all is. It's not going to happen. It's complicated enough. You are now going to put a time crunch on top of it. And so that leads me to another question that I have today about this situation in particular. Is this the punishment for the Phoenix Suns for signing up for all of this in the first place? You traded for him, even though he had the no trade clause. You traded for him, even though he had the big contract. Is this the punishment? That you signed up for this, so you have to deal with all of the ramifications from it, including not being able to trade him. And that might mean an entire lost year. That might mean another year of this ever-shrinking window, if there is one that still exists for the Phoenix Suns, closing more and more. A year completely going by the wayside. But you know what? When you signed up for this and you told everybody, no, it's fine. This is the missing piece. This is the last thing this team needed to take them over the top. Bradley Beal, Big Three, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, championship, man. This is a championship caliber roster, a championship caliber team. We've got a championship caliber coach in Frank Vogel. Oh, wait, we have a championship caliber coach in Mike Budenholzer. We've got a roster here that can compete for a championship. This team is worse than they were last year. This is the punishment. You sign up for something that carries all of this risk. Sometimes the chickens come home to roost. And they are right now for the Phoenix Suns. And they are at a very critical point. They are coming home to roost right when the Suns need to find the escape pod. They need to find their way out of this situation. And you know what? They can't. And everybody told you at the time, man, this better work out. There's a reason that the league is still mocking Bradley Beal getting a no-trade clause. It's nothing personal against Bradley Beal. It's why would you give out a no-trade clause and put yourself in this situation? Now, it's not like the Suns did it, but when you trade for a guy that has it, you basically assume all the risk. Washington gave it out, and they didn't have any of the risk. They found a team that was willing to take it on, no problem, a place that Bradley Beal was willing to go to, and now it's all Phoenix's problem. And you know what? It's Phoenix's problem in an ever-diminishing championship window. It's Phoenix's problem at a very crucial inflection point for this franchise. So what's the path out? What's the pivot plan? Is there a way for this to all come to a nice conclusion? I'm sorry. It's not happening. If you still think at this point, there's a better chance my pen for my tablet works than Bradley Beal gets traded. There's a better chance I solve that problem than the Suns solve their Bradley Beal no-trade clause problem. I know it's hard to do because we do the show every day. If you're listening every day, we ebb and flow through a lot, right? But think about every single team that's been thrown out there as an option for Bradley Beal. Every single one that's been thrown out there has immediately, or what feels like immediately, been dismissed. Milwaukee, Chris Haynes immediately comes out. Non-existent connection between the two. Chicago appears as, this is the new plan. This is the new escape pod for us. Athletic reports, he doesn't want to go to a cold weather place or doesn't want to go to a team that's losing. He won't waive his no trade clause to Chicago. They're out. Every single team that's been brought up as a potential destination, it all roads lead back to they either don't want Bradley Beal or Bradley Beal doesn't want them. And guess what? Once you start crossing teams off the list, you only have, 30 of them? The Heat don't want him. Milwaukee doesn't want him. Chicago doesn't look like he wants to go there. He's staying in Phoenix would not apply here. That's 4 teams right off the bat. Immediately. Then rule out all the cold weather teams. He's not going back to Washington. I can rule them out. He's not going to Utah. Toronto, just think of all the bad teams. Brooklyn, it very quickly dwindles to where it's like 2 teams. And meanwhile, while you're trying to untangle that web, the Warriors might be jumping back in on Jimmy Butler. The Kings might land Jimmy Butler in a mega deal that sends De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs. You might be left at the altar. You might be left without a dance partner. Why? Because of a decision that you made 2 off seasons ago. Because a decision that you made that everybody is like, are you sure? Not questioning the talent of the player, but are you sure you want that salary and the no trade clause? Because, man, if this doesn't work, you're screwed. You don't have a path out. At some point, that bill comes due. Can I let you in on the sad truth, everybody? They're paying the bill today. They're paying the bill tomorrow. They're going to pay the bill for the next week until the NBA trade deadline comes and goes. And then, if Bradley Beal is still on this roster when the trade deadline passes, payment received. And then you have to try to make it work with this group. I haven't even begun to wrap my head around trying to explore that scenario next week. Because of how quickly all of this changes in a moment's notice, they might be able to figure this out. Again, I'm not betting on it. The pen on my tablet's going to work first before that happens. It feels like the Suns are being boxed out. We read to you a report from Clutch Points in the last segment about Bogdanovich potentially as a pivot option, that they're looking at him to bring in, moving Nurkic's deal. Is that the first sign of the pivot happening? Is that the first sign of them saying, we're not moving Beal, we're not getting Jimmy Butler, we tried, we gave it our best effort, there was a lot of noise, a lot of rumors, we did everything we could. I'm old enough to remember the Suns reportedly moving Bradley Beal to the bench to make him angry to want to waive his no trade clause to go anywhere. I'm old enough to remember that part of this saga too. This is the payment for that. This is the payment for making the decision 2 years ago to take on a guy who's making the type of money that Bradley Beal is making and has a no trade clause in his contract.